it's so great that you could work with your daughter on a project.
Or exploit her.
I'm crouched on the floor, painting people taking shits.
I actually know that they're full of shit because they poop.
You're gonna have 1 million German fans contacting you.
Sure. Oh, that's
So
awesome.
you turn shit into gold.
I did, not this book. That's the difference.
Come on.
I'm too lazy to do a podcast, so I appear on other people's podcasts. This is PodCRASH with that Chris Gore.
And this is how he decides to start it. Fantastic. I'm so proud of you.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me each week as a guest on a different podcast. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. And this week, I have two very special guests joining me before we get into our Crazy for Comic-Con or the SDCC Blog episode. Yoshi Obayashi.
Obayashi.
Wait, what did I say? I said it wrong. Obaya.
It's almost like oh my goshi, but just Obayashi.
How about oh my goshi?
That's fine too. That's what they teased me in high school.
And Yoshi is a Korean comedian who is going to be on the PodCRASH panel, which is going to be live at Comic-Con in San Diego on Thursday, July 18th. But also joining me, very first time on the show, is my daughter, my adult daughter, Haley Gore.
Oh, goodness. Okay, hi. Yeah, this is lovely.
And this is,
I'm so excited.
I'm so thrilled.
And Haley, actually, we were just talking about this when we were eating lunch. You've been going to Comic-Con since you were a fetus.
I've been going since I was a fetus.
So you've been going longer than Chris Hardwick.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been going because I think he's
Wait,
only.
were
been
you
going for the
made
last
in
couple years.
San Diego too?
No, I think I was made around New Year's. I'm very serious.
Let's not get into that.
Okay.
So yeah, you were talking about Haley. You were talking about, and this is interesting. My daughter Haley, sitting next to me here, actually did the artwork for the comedy book / album Celebrities Poop.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Very talented.
That was so much fun.
And we're having a party. We're actually having an album release party Friday, July 19th at 8:30 p.m. You can get information at facebook.com/podcrash. Or if you're at San Diego Comic-Con, you'll find out about this party, the Celebrities Poop party, sponsored by Nerdi.
Very cool.
And Haley, you're going to be there with the artwork
I
on
am
display.
gonna be there.
But before we get into all that stuff,
Sure.
let's talk, before we get into pluggy type stuff, which I've already gotten out of the way. Let's talk about how long you've been going to Comic-Con. Because you've seen Comic-Con
right.
since you were little. Like I started going to Comic-Con, I was a little older than you are now. And now here you are, you've seen it. I mean, you've been going to Comic-Con for 20 years. Actually, 21 years if you count the fetus time.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're counting fetus time.
Okay, so what do you think about how it's changed?
I'm very upset with it. I mean, I can remember times when, you guys could push a stroller through and you had space and, hey, yeah, I want to go check this out. I don't have to fight my way in. Now, forbid that you actually try to get into lines or something. I mean, last year alone, they told me I couldn't get into a line for something because they were cutting it off. So I kind of just snuck over to the booth and made my way in. But, it just feels so sneaky now.
It just seems like just about everything in America. Money ruins everything.
It's kind of like Sundance when Sundance was Sundance was all about the filmmakers and all about the movies.
People who were passionate about the independent films.
Exactly.
And things like that.
So now the very people that kind of created it are the ones that aren't as welcome. And I feel like that's the thing that most people are complaining about. Now it's been invaded by business interests.
Sure.
And companies.
It's Comic-Con, so it should be comic book, but those are like way
in the back.
Way in the back.
And nobody's over there.
Well,
it's like the gay section of a porn convention. It's just a way.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. That's a cliche thing a lot of people say, but I mean, really, it is the people looking to capitalize on the nerd audience because it really is an audience that embraces these kinds of things early on. If something becomes cool at Comic-Con, it's possible that it could become, from a pop culture standpoint, become popular on a mass scale.
Isn't that the unfortunate thing, though? You could see something that's, oh, this is so unique and simple and on its own. I'm going to get one of that, and then next year you see it everywhere. And
Right.
it just doesn't feel the same way.
Now let's talk about Haley. And I've told stories about you on the podcast, which I am so happy you never listened to.
Yeah, I still haven't listened to him.
Thank you.
I'm scared
Wait,
now.
what
Should
were
I be
you talking
watching?
about?
What did you say?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, God.
I'm saying I don't want my daughter to listen to the podcast because then I'll be self-conscious about stuff that I talk about. I don't want her to listen to my comedy album, much less the podcast.
He has actually told me to promise him that I would never listen to it. And
Thank you.
promised.
Keep that promise to your dad.
I'm keeping the promise.
But one of the things that I think I loved about, well, I love you because you're my daughter.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that's cool that makes you my daughter is the fact that you hated Barbie dolls. And so many...
Is that right?
I used to tie them up with rope and leave them.
That's strange. But not only that, you would
You
like...
put a rope around them?
Tie them up and leave them in a dark room and just leave
Were they
them.
black dolls? What was going on?
No, they were just like,
not that
Barbie with her convertible. It's like, well, trash the car, and Barbie was, taken hostage.
So you must like the stuff from San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh my God, I love the stuff from San Diego.
Wow, she really is your daughter.
But what's cool? No, but what's cool about it is that I think this is just a knee-jerk reaction that little daughters are given Barbie dolls
Sure.
for birthday presents, Christmas, whatever. So Haley got a lot of Barbie dolls because she's a girl,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found really interesting is that Haley fell in love with, I think you were about like 3 years old, Godzilla. I'm talking about the
God, yeah.
original Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick, and you had a pair of Godzilla pajamas that were like had
Wait. I still
Tell
have
the
them.
story.
I
Tell
still
the
have
story.
them. I would wear them as often as I could. I loved these PJs. I would wear them as just regular clothes. It was fantastic.
But they have Godzilla's scaly skin,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. And I remember you running around until they could barely fit you. And you fell in love with the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, the American-made Godzilla
Mm-hmm.
movie, which I think just me having grown up with the original Toho Godzilla, I did not like that movie. But you were so young. I mean, you like that and Jurassic Park. Like you like dinosaurs and
Oh my
monsters.
God, I have this memory of it still being on VHS tape, and the ending comes up for the movie, and I start screaming and crying and freaking out. It sounds like someone's gouging my eyes out. And Mom comes running, and she goes, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I point at the TV and go, "The movie's over!" So she just stops, rewinds the tape, and plays it again. I'm like, "Oh, cool, it's back." And I just watched it again.
I find it really. This is great because, fathers when they have sons, it's really easy to connect with them. You take them to sports and things like that. It's really hard for fathers and daughters to have this kind of connection. You're very lucky, Chris.
No, I do feel like I feel like it's
You're
just-
very lucky to have this.
Well, Haley and I think we've always been close just because we like the same nerdy things. And I remember I got you one Christmas, I got you the box set of Alien, all the Alien movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because you saw, and then I got you an H.R. Giger back scratcher that I got from Japan, which is a really creepy looking. It's like H.R. Giger designed this back scratcher. You still have it, right?
Oh, I still have them both.
Wait, did you go to Japan?
No. Well, I've been only to Japan once.
He went to
For
Japan
Shishikai.
without me. I don't care how young I was.
You
Stuff
were
me in
little.
your suitcase. I would have gone.
You were little, but
Well,
no,
I mean, but,
I just
quickly-
bought it from Japan.
But why did you go there? I'm curious.
I went there in like the mid '90s for a video game
Godzilla convention?
No, I wish it was a Godzilla convention. But so Haley's really come to Comic-Con with me every year in some capacity. I mean, when we went as a family,
Sure.
and then when your mom just wasn't interested anymore, and my son is just not his scene. He's not into Comic-Con stuff. But Haley just loves Comic-Con. Like she's all about everything about Comic-Con. So you've gone every year. I mean, and it was like the one year you got your own room.
Oh, that was fantastic. I was like, wait a minute, I'm actually an adult.
Yeah, you finally
And
got
at
your own.
Comic-Con.
You finally got your own room, and I remember you calling me super excited because you ordered a pizza and it was delivered to the room.
Yeah, because you guys would always order and it would come for you. And it was like, no, this is mine.
How old were you?
ordered- what was I like?
I don't know.
15, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very generous.
Well, I was with a friend, so he
Anyways,
kind
yeah.
of treated me.
Anyways,
So when did you think this thing changed for worse for you? Like when?
Oh God, I'm trying to think because it happened so quickly. It was like one year, it's like, yeah, I can walk down here, and then all of a sudden, it's like, where did this crowd come from? I think it got really weird. Maybe for me anyway, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe pushing 8, where it was like final realization of, wait a minute, I might not even be able to go because of these factors. I mean, expenses It's been crazy. I've
Yeah.
always gone to the Marriott. Guess where I'm not going this year?
Well, I mean, whatever the hotel situation. It's just
fixed,
it's a victim of its own success. I think
Yeah.
the issue that I have with Comic-Con mostly is that all these business interests have come in, and it's compromised what the integrity of Comic-Con's about. But you set all that aside, set that negativity and blah, 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 complaining, the thing that everybody complains about. There, Artist Alley, or as I like to call it, the ghetto. Because it's easy to walk in that area. It's all these independent artists selling their wares, and we'll be there with Celebrities Poop somewhere. We're going to be now. Let's talk about. I started doing comedy like 3.
You started doing comedy? You're funny?
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is this: my kids have always grown up with me being on television, so it's like it's not like a thing for them to the point where it's like they're just like so what? Like
Yes.
Because you did it other way around, and most comedians envy your career because they get into stand-up comedy hoping they'll get TV show.
Oh, really?
Oh, for sure. So you have a huge exposure.
I didn't want to do television because this was like when you were really young, Haley. I was a stay-at-home dad.
Was this an accident? You got into TV business?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
I just
that.
remember him writing all the time and be like, Dad, something's wrong. He's like, I'm writing something. Give me a second.
Well, it was like I was doing Film Threat, and then I was also I wrote a couple of books, and I would take care of my kids at home, and my, then wife had your mom, had a normal job. And so I was the stay-at-home dad taking care of the kids, writing at staying at home. And so then I got this opportunity. Someone thought that some of the stuff I wrote on the internet on Film Threat was funny and called
insightful.
in. Yeah, they thought, well, whatever. They thought it was clever and said, well, we're going to bring you in for an interview. And I said, I don't have time. I said, I got to take care of these 2 kids. I'm working on, this book. I said, I don't have time to do it. They begged me to come in. So basically my attitude in going to the audition
You didn't
was
even care.
I didn't care. And so I think that's why I got hired. And then every job led to another one. But, now I'm unemployed.
Sure.
I'm pursuing. Now, basically, my career is going in the reverse. I'm making less and less money.
Right.
Now I'm out of work comedian who's coming out with my first, official comedy album, and decided that I would do something different with it. Because in this, there's actually a theme song. A theme song. Here's part of it.
All celebrities eat, so all celebrities poop. Some make a big poop, and some make a small poop. Some wear a diaper when they make their doo-doo. All celebrities poop, yeah, all celebrities poop.
That's part of the theme song for Celebrities Poop. Celebrities Poop actually has its own theme song. I know, it's weird. But I want to do something different because people don't buy CDs anymore. So I thought, well, you can download my album on Amazon.com or iTunes. If you go to celebitiespoop.com or you go to Amazon.com or iTunes.com, you'll be able to download Celebrities Poop. Or what's cool is if you go to celebitiespoop.com, you can buy the book. I wrote this book. My daughter did the illustrations, which we should tell the story about that. And you buy the book, you get the download code for the album, and you'll get, if you buy it from celebitiespoop.com, you'll get the PodCRASH fan club kit free, and you'll get a bonus album track that'll be emailed to you that you can only get if you buy it from celebitiespoop.com. That's the only way to get the bonus track. You won't get it on Amazon. You won't get it on iTunes. That's a huge plug. But
that's really special.
Yeah, exactly. So, but let's talk about, I approached you a year ago. I said, when I was thinking about doing a comedy album, I was just sort of I think I'm getting enough material for an album. And Yoshi, I played you some of the tracks.
Sure.
You know how hard it is to kind of put it together. I'm not saying that even what I've done is I recorded it at Phoenix Comic-Con in May. It was after rehearsing this material for a year, and I thought, well, I just want to pair it with something. I feel like people will buy a book. I'm not sure if they'll buy comedy albums anymore.
But I really like the vibe of the show.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't know if it's a trend, but this is what I noticed about all the great comedians right now. At the end of their comedy show, whether you like that person or not, you get this feeling that you know that person, and I think.
Do you feel like you know?
Yeah, you get to know you're a silly guy and a funny guy, and those personalized stories are terrific. I really believe those. Well, they're great because for one thing, they can't steal that from you.
That's I didn't think about that.
Because if you do just joke, it's possible you could someone could steal that from you. But these personalized stories that you told me, and I don't want to get specific, they were great. I really like them. I didn't even know until today.
Yes, please don't. Please let's not recount any of these stories.
In front of his daughter.
Yes. But they were great, and they're so interesting and funny.
Oh, thanks.
And people love hearing stories like that. So.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
And I also find it clever. I think it was clever that you didn't do it at a comedy club. That they didn't even know they were going to comedy show.
Well,
and comedy is all about surprise, and you surprised them from so many levels.
I tricked the audience. The audience thought they were showing up for a live PodCRASH, and which I had done the year before, which was very successful. So I thought, I want to do this in Phoenix because L.A. is I don't know. L.A. I feel like L.A. is where you rehearse comedy, and then you see if it really works in other cities.
Yes.
So I knew Phoenix liked me. I knew I would get a good crowd, and so I surprised them. But I want to talk about the book and, Haley, the artwork that you did.
Oh, God.
So I approached you, and your first thing was, because I had to beg you, Haley did not want to be credited as Haley Gore on the book.
Why?
I still don't. Are you kidding me? I had to sit there. I didn't have a desk at the time. I'm crouched on the floor painting people taking shits. That's what the book was. He comes to me. He's like, oh, yeah, I have this idea for a book. I'm thinking, oh, good God, if I just never mention it again, he will never remember. And of course, he comes back a couple months later. Hey, I'm still thinking about that book. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not. I think I'll just wait a little more time. He will completely forget. And he never did. He just kept pestering me and saying, I want you to draw them. And oh, God, he's showing me pictures right now. Why are you doing this to me?
Because I thought it would be funny. So I made a list of celebrities, and I went through the book. It's a page-for-page satire parody coffee table appropriate.
Oh, don't even.
It's appropriate for coffee tables.
No, it's not, people.
With coffee tables on the tables of open-minded Americans with senses of humor. And it's page-for-page parody of Everyone Poops, which even if you don't have kids, you've heard of this.
Sure.
So it's one of the most popular children's books ever. So I thought, I thought it would be fun to do a page-for-page parody. So I made a list of celebrities that I thought it would be fun to mock. And I have in my time, working when I was working for G4 and I've interviewed a lot of celebrities, and some of them can be fucking full of shit. I actually know that they're full of shit because they poop. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be funny, and so I approached you, Haley, about doing it, and I went through and I marked up the book and I rewrote. I said, here's the text. Here are the people that I want to have. Instead of an elephant, it'll be Oprah, or instead of a whale, it'll be whoever. So I went through it, and then you did rough sketches of everything. I mean, your first reaction was you wanted to do a pseudonym. You wanted to not...
I did not want my name on this, and that's because this thing is just... It's not going to turn, crap into gold. It's a very, very hideous-looking book. I don't think it's beautiful.
I don't know.
I don't think it's beautiful.
Yoshi, Yoshi.
Don't look at those pictures.
Everyone I've showed it to. Now, come on, we showed it to
Wouldn't that be funny? You ended up selling 1 million copies.
I don't care. It's so
I showed it to someone who works for Stanley's Kamikaze.
Yeah, now
Regina,
that was actually really crazy.
And she was who we met at E3. And what did she say?
She said, "You did this," and I go, "Yeah, not exactly, proud of it." And she goes, "Well, what do you like to do?" I'm like, "Well, beautiful things." She stops me. She goes, "Here's my card. I want to see your portfolio. I'd love to have you come into my office. Hey, we're having a party next week. You totally got to come to that." And I'm just like, okay. So now she's signing me up as her exclusive artist at Kamikaze Expo.
So you turned shit into gold.
I did, not this book. That's the difference.
Come on.
No.
But you can't say this thing helped you, obviously, and it's not even out yet.
I know
You're gonna have 1 million German fans contacting you.
Sure. Oh, that's awful.
But the funny thing is how ashamed you were.
Look at this, just awful. I tried to make my own joke on it, like you see Donald Trump.
Wait till you go through the 50 print.
Oh God, no.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because Haley brought a lot of ideas. Like when you look at this is the amount of detail is when you look at each individual celebrity's poop, it looks different. Like there's a page
check out
here.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, like
he's got needles and pills in his.
If you look at the different,
I didn't even notice it before.
Poop, there's details.
Donald
in it.
Trump's has a wig.
It's each of even the individual piles of poop have a personality to them. Mm-hmm. So
like Lady Gaga's poop.
Precisely. So everyone I've shown this to was it took me 6 months to convince you to not, because you were going to use a pseudonym.
You don't have President Obama?
Yeah. Well, yes, Obama, like right here. It says the president wipes himself with paper.
How cool was it if it was like him benching up, taking a dump, and all the Secret Service is just standing around protecting?
That'll be in the second edition.
book.
Oh, good
Second edition.
God. No, we'll see. We'll see about that.
Bin Laden take a shit.
Hey, but you know what? Another thing that you do in the bathroom, you also shave. And if you would like to support this podcast, in addition to going to celebrittiespoop.com and purchasing my book and comedy album, which will help me out, will help my daughter out here, who's a college student, you can also go to dollarshaveclub.com.
What's that?
dollarshaveclub.com are quality razors.
Oh,
Right.
God.
I'm doing a plug on my show. You go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chris. Sign up. It's quality razors. You get them once a month. I'm serious. I have to do this. I haven't made a dime doing this podcast. I am in the hole from all the equipment.
But I think that's
from
the
getting
norm.
An app made. I had an app made for PodCRASH. You can get on iTunes
Sure.
and freaking the Android devices and iPad. I'm saying that I've sunk all this into it to try to change the trajectory of my career.
Sure.
From a film critic, which is a dead end. No one gives a crap about film critics these days. I mean, it was never something I wanted to do for very long. It was really my excuse to meet my heroes. I wanted to write about movies so I could meet David Lynch. Wanted to write about movies so I could meet, Steven Soderbergh. I wanted to write
Wait,
about
did you actually meet David Lynch, though?
Yeah, I went to his house. I told that story on a podcast a while ago. You should listen to my podcast, Yoshi. So it was really just starting Film Threat and writing about film was an excuse to meet my heroes. I wanted to make movies, be involved in entertainment.
Sure.
And it was Rod Lurie that really, Rod Lurie, the filmmaker, did a movie called The Contender with Joan Allen, among other great films. Rod Lurie who convinced me to, cross over from writing about film to being involved in film. He said that, in no other profession do people no one who's a sports announcer says, I can dunk baskets better than anybody in the NBA. No one in politics says, I could be president, who covers politics.
Sure.
No journalist, right? But in the world of entertainment, journalists do cross over from writing about film. I mean, whether it be the guys who created Kaiju Cinema to a lot of other people started as covering film and then got involved in film and television.
Right.
So it's something that I aspired to do, and I feel I'm still aspiring in that arena. But comedy is also something where I was sick of hearing people telling me, how come you don't do stand-up comedy? I mean, for years. And it was just, going into that audition, it's just me ranting. Really just my writing is just a text version of my rants. So, whatever. This podcast actually bothers me from the standpoint it's too much about me. I need to make this less about me, even though which is weird. Which is you're smiling. And
I'm laughing at you a little bit. Now that's actual comedy. I'm making make this less about me. Even though my name is on it, let's not have it about me.
Well, it is. I mean, It just I prefer. This is why I've started having guests on the show, like yourself, like my daughter, like other people to like.
But people do really listen because of you, Chris. Like you're a fun-loving guy, and even when you laugh.
Well, thank you.
I like listening to people talking about interesting subject matter, but they have a great laughter.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think the guy with the best laughter is Ricky Gervais.
Oh, I love that guy.
Ricky Gervais.
I don't know. I met him one time at Tonight Show. He couldn't be more graceful, and he was very, very nice. But it's just the way he laughs. You don't even care. He could be just reading a ingredient from a food can or something. I just can't stop laughing. He's just a wonderful person, and the laughter really means a lot to me. If you're laughing with a bunch of your friends, you're having a good time and having a conversation. Right. I'm not into arguing and trying to prove people wrong.
I like to argue for passion's sake.
Yeah.
But not for But what I also love is more than anything, I like to hear someone who completely disagrees with me.
Yeah.
I love that because then it steps up I have to step up on my opinion about this.
Yeah.
I know, Haley, you also like to argue about things.
That depends on what it's about.
What are some of your favorite, we've had discussions about things. I once traumatized you. What was that Peter Jackson movie that traumatized you?
Which one?
It was the Peter Jackson film.
Okay.
With the monkey, what?
King
God
Kong?
damn it. No, there was this film with this goddamn rat monkey, and I don't know what was going on. it was this horrifying thing, and it was like biting people, turned them into zombies, and there was people eating pus, and then they become zombies. He decides that this was a good movie to show me.
You like stuff that's gross?
That was not gross. That was beyond gross. That was just, and he decides that's a good film.
I'm curious, what was the one movie that your dad showed you, later you regret that he showed to you? It was traumatizing. I have one movie in mind for me, but I'm curious.
I've got two.
Like it's a movie that you asked him to show you, and he showed you, and he traumatized you.
Actually, I haven't had that. He's given me 2 movies thinking, hey, I think you'll like this. And that was, I think it was Underworld Part 2. Severe regret watching that.
You didn't like it?
I was sitting there trying to do homework, and when I look up, I'm like, are they having sex? Dad, I just started a freshman in high school or something like that. And I'm like, great. Well, I guess I've taken health class. And then the other one was Meet the Feebles.
Yes.
Which he thought that was hilarious. He's like, hey, you'll like this. It's like the Muppets on crack. So I ended up watching that. It was, I kind of want
What
to
about
make
Bad Taste?
I haven't seen Bad Taste yet. I have it. Just because I have it doesn't mean I've seen it. So I've got that one. God. He's given me so many movies. I've got an entire shelf just full of movies.
Let's hear some of the other than the box set of it. Dead Alive was the movie
that
I showed
was
you.
the one. That one was just
I can't
crap.
believe I spaced on the name of that. I've been out of the game for a while.
What was it about it? It was so traumatic for you.
Well, it's kind of a zombie movie. I mean, it's basically a zombie movie directed by Peter Jackson.
Sure.
It's awesome.
No, it's not.
I think it's awesome.
I don't need to see this monkey pissing on people and ripping off the
it's
arms
funny.
of other monkeys.
It's funny.
No, it was bad. It was.
But I think the one thing I remember seeing as a kid that really traumatized me was an episode of The Twilight Zone, the one To Serve Man.
Oh,
That
yes.
was great, though.
To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. I remember not being able to sleep. I remember being really traumatized. So
That really scared the crap out of me. I remember that.
That and it was Dawn of the Dead. I saw Dawn of the Dead at the movie theater when I always had to like find friends whose moms would drive. You know, like, could you drive us to the movie theater to go see Dawn of the Dead? And that really traumatized me. Seeing that head explode at the beginning was just intense.
For me, when my cousins took me to see Alien, and I think I was barely 9 or 10.
Really?
And they were laughing because, there's a scene where the guy...
He's having his seizure and...
No. The part where that was the first time when I heard my cousins use... That's the first time I ever heard the word rape, where... the guy's literally having his face raped by this...
face hugger, yeah.
Getting raped he's getting literally...
Face raped.
Yeah, getting fucked in the face. and my cousins are just... So
Oh, my God.
So it was years before I didn't realize it had something to do with men and women. It was just like... I didn't... It was
Are you
disconnect.
trying to be careful because my daughter's sitting...
Be careful, please.
No. I just...
She's said worse things to me.
I
we
guess...
get into discussions about movies, Haley and I, so...
Yeah, we'll yell at each other about that.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I was so young, I didn't know, but I thought only men get raped. That was I was like 9 or 10, so they were laughing. They were like, "Hey, look, he's getting raped in the face," and they were giggling. But like, and then they come out of the stomach later on. Yeah, that was
Traumatizing.
Yeah, it really was, and that was a pretty horror. I mean, it's terrifying.
The worst thing I think when I was younger, he let me watch the Star Trek episode with the salt monster, and then immediately after, something about a Yeti throwing rocks at Captain Kirk. But we watched that episode with Star Trek with the salt monster sucking the salt out of people's faces.
Original series.
Original series.
This
people.
is
This is
what
the original.
This is what a good dad I am.
Yeah, this is the
I
original
made her
stuff.
watch the original series.
The original. No, I had no problem with actually watching, but the content, this salt monster coming around sucking people's salt out of their face, and I'm just like, okay. So I watched these 2 episodes. I go to bed. I was up for a good maybe 12 hours hiding under my comforter, sweating my face off, and I'm just like, if I come out and I try to fall asleep, that salt monster is going to come out from under the bed and kill me. And that's what you showed me when I was 4.
I don't know. I like to push the limits. I like to push the...
One of my first movies was Lake Placid. So Jurassic Park.
Lake Placid was great.
Placid,
Wait,
great.
Lake
you
Placid
took
was-
her to see that?
No, it was on DVD. It was on like DVD. I had a DVD of this.
It's a gore fest, isn't it?
It's great. I love hearing Betty White call people fuck meat. That's awesome. And, 4 years old, Oh, thank you so much. Most of these films were between, 2 and 6.
Look.
Thanks so much.
I don't care about language. The violence, it's like you kind of, if it's cartoon violence, depends on what the violence is.
Sure.
I think it's like violence that shows consequences, I think is violence that can, violence is a part of life. Anything with sex stuff I know would be really uncomfortable.
Which I have watched. Thanks again.
Your home video, right, Chris?
Thank God I haven't.
What are you talking about, Yoshi? You're banned from the
Wait
show.
a minute.
All right, so actually this week is Comic-Con. You can see PodCRASH live.
Sure.
Thursday, July 18th, room 25 ABC. You can get more information at facebook.com/PodCRASH. Adrian Curry is going to be on the panel. Yoshi Obayashi.
Oh, you did it right.
Yes, oh my gosh, Obayashi
Sure.
will be on the panel. Stephen Kramer Glickman, comedian Stephen Kramer Glickman. And
Very funny guy.
my friends from Comic Book Live, Tommy Bechtel, Patrick Ian Moore, they will all be there. Comic Book Live, we're doing a special sketch in the middle of the show. That is 7 p.m., Thursday, July 18th at Comic-Con if you'll be there. So facebook.com/PodCRASH. The second thing is Friday, July 19th, 8:30 p.m., my daughter and I will be at a very swanky party, which if you're there and you mention PodCRASH at the door, you can get into this party, which if you go to facebook.com/PodCRASH, you can also get info about that. And it's 8:30 p.m. It's on 5th Street in the middle of the gas lamp. And if you're lucky enough to get one of the goodie bags, well, the goodie bag will have a copy of Celebrities Poop in it. If you are not able to attend the party, you can go to celebrispoop.com. And you can buy a copy of the book, which includes the album, PodCRASH Fan Club Kit, and a bonus audio track not available on Amazon and iTunes. Or if you're just too late, you can just buy it on Amazon and iTunes.
Yeah, there you go.
And I have to say, this is a terrific, because I know on a serious note, it's so great that you could work with your daughter on a project.
Or exploit her in the way that so many other show business parents have exploited their children. And I noticed this, and I'm thinking, this is something new I haven't done. I have not exploited my children. Although in one, actually, what's so funny is, I completely forgot about this. You and your brother were in a sketch on Attack of the Show.
Yes, I remember this.
Tell the story. It's Frankenperera.
I didn't even know what we were going in for. He's like, just find a shirt that has no logo on it. Okay, so I go with him when we go to his offices at the G4 place, and they're just like, yeah, so you mind reading this for us? And I'm like, okay, I look it over. I seem to have a little more enthusiasm than Zachary. He was like, I have no idea what's going on, but let's have fun.
And it's like a fake cereal commercial starring Kevin Pereira.
I made fun of him the entire time.
As Frankenperera. And Kevin was total class act with you guys. He was like so cool. That's the one thing... people ask me about Kevin. He jokes a lot of the show. His off-camera demeanor, he's just the coolest dude. Super nice to everybody. He knew all the names of the people on the Attack of the Show crew. Even I didn't. I didn't pay that. I would always come in, do my thing, and then leave because so I'd never even get to know all of the people who worked. I'm not talking about the production crew.
Sure.
Yeah. But Kevin, great. So yeah, you're in the Frankenperera commercial, which I think is somewhere on YouTube.
It's still on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, you and your brother, great acting job, which created a whole new policy and a hullabaloo at G4. That people were upset because some kids were used and they weren't like you. I gave permission.
Who the hell are these people saying some kids? Excuse me, we're the Gorelings.
Yeah, the Gorelings.
We're the Gorelings.
Yeah, the Gorelings.
You guys are called.
Yeah, he calls us the Gorelings because we're tiny Gores. So,
all right, well,
I was upset with that.
Okay, well, stick around after. I'm going to play clips from. I got to play clips from because this is what the show's about. I play clips, and I was on the SDCC Blog, which stands for San Diego Comic-Con. I know a guy named Tony Kim, who he does a website called Crazy4, the number 4, Crazy4ComicCon.com. Tony Kim, also at Crazy4Comic-Con, also a writer for Geek Magazine, which I just did an article for Geek Magazine,
cool.
The Ultimate San Diego Comic-Con Survival Guide, the latest issue of Geek Magazine. You can check that out. But Tony Kim I've known on Twitter for years because of his Comic-Con coverage. He asked me to be on the SDCC blog, just to be a part of their blog, and it's a video that they shot, and it's myself and this other guy, James Riley. So Tony Kim, James Riley, and I just talking about stories about Comic-Con. very funny story. The reason that Attack of the Show started going to Comic-Con was because of me.
Yeah.
Because I was actually going to Comic-Con
Right.
just because I go there every year and have since like 1990,
Yeah.
1989, 1990. I've been going every year. So I said to one of the producers, you should go to this thing called Comic-Con. I mean, it really is our audience. I mean, I was really excited about being a part of G4 and Attack of the Show. This is, 8 years ago. And said, and the producer at the time said, Comic-Con, what's that? Is that a convention for comedians? I said, no, it's everything pop culture. It's the thing that kind of sets the tone and the trend for what's coming, and it's the early adopters, the people that are just the super fans that discover something, way before it comes out. It's sort of, whetting the appetite of all of us that are into nerd culture.
Yeah.
They ended up going that year, and they just did a couple segments with Kevin Pereira, and then the producer said, hey, that's a pretty good thing. Like, we should be doing that like every year. And I was like, yeah, you should be doing this every year.
Just said me.
Like I've been. I mean, my thoughts on G4 are, it was a great idea. I think somebody could do it better. I really feel that it just didn't have the support of the higher ups. And I don't mean the actual executives at G4.
Yeah.
It was the higher ups in terms of the parent companies that really didn't believe that there's something that could be a geek culture channel. And even then, they just made horrible decisions, like matching it with like episodes of Cops and cheaters and stupid stuff that makes no frickin' sense. I mean, come on, they should be rerunning, episodes of shows that we all love. They could rerun Space 1999 or old Doctor Who episodes, or, from the 70s and 80s. I mean, just like, I feel like it was a missed opportunity. And I feel that the internet has actually taken on the job that G4 used to do. I think that the powers that be above the executives at G4 decided that that demographic doesn't really. They just download stuff for free. They don't buy things. They killed it.
So it was raising in popularity. It was along with Comic-Con, really, where
Yes.
Comic-Con started getting huge instead
Yes.
of just the nerd prom.
When
They
Comic-
became huge.
Exactly.
Do you think that Comic-Con in any way has suffered any similar fate? Like, is Comic-Con bulletproof from any kind of mismanagement?
No. Those guys, the people who run Comic-Con, I mean, it's a mostly volunteer organization that they just pay themselves seasonally. And they're so dedicated, and it's the same people have been running it for the most part. And no, I don't see that happening with those guys at all. I mean, if anything, their problem is, how do we manage our success? Because it is so wildly successful that now they can do an offshoot like WonderCon, and WonderCon is, just seeing now this sort of second year in Anaheim, because I used to go when it was in San Francisco, which I thought was fun because it's just fun to get out of town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any excuse to not be in LA, I'll go to Anaheim, I'll go to San Diego, I'll go to San Francisco, I'll go to San Jose, I'll go to Phoenix, I'll go anywhere outside of LA is a better place to me.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see like the success here and seeing the con phenomena. There is a con phenomenon that exists now because you've got Phoenix Comic Con, which is around Memorial Day. You've got Dragon Con. You've got Emerald Con. You've got New York Comic Con.
A dozen Wizard World cons.
Yes, I really feel that there is now this tribe. This has matured. And it's not just Comic Con. Comic Con being probably the most important to the studios and whatnot, but the con phenomenon has exploded, and we'll just have to all deal with it. I mean, what I love is that there's a con like almost every weekend. Like, there was a party where I just went like all night, where it was like a rave party it was like in a park.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? It was like in the 90s, and it's like it just went all night. And I remember like not having a hotel room, so I just sort of stayed at that thing that year. My first year going down was real simple. I just drove down. I had just moved to LA. Yeah. I drove down, and it was at the college, right? It wasn't in San Diego proper. It was at a college. I remember it was all comic books, and that was great for me. I was in heaven. It's like, oh, comics, and they've got 16 millimeter prints of Star Trek episodes. That's a typical convention, like old school convention.
Right.
But mostly, I just love, going to the hotel bar, waiting in line with other people and bonding. Yeah. It's how I've met like friends. One of my great friends, Ron Wells, I met at Comic-Con. We were waiting in line to get to that party where I didn't have a hotel room, and I just spent the night. Well, I didn't spend the night. I just stayed up and kind of dozed next to a
Some of the
tree.
best memories.
Oh man, I remember being on a panel and getting booed. Well, this happens to me a lot. Is I'll go on a panel and I'll get booed. But I came and it was a "Is Star Trek Dead" panel.
Oh,
and I
man,
brought out
them fighting words.
I brought out a Starship Enterprise and I put on like a welder's glasses and I had these protective gloves and then I took a big like mallet and I smashed the Enterprise.
Wow.
And there were boos and cheers, cheers and jeers. But yeah, there've been a lot of like bizarre panel experiences. You mentioned panels and I love the fact that Comic-Con, no matter how large it gets, there'll be like the Hall H stuff, which everybody knows about, but then there's always like the smaller panels, and I think that that's where the action is.
Yeah.
The action is the smaller panels. The action is Artist Alley. You know, they still support as much as like, you know, Warner Brothers would like a booth that would take up like a whole room. They still have like the smaller stuff. It's part of the mix. It's part of the pastiche of what makes a great con. I mean, that is just because Comic-Con has become what it is. And it really is sort of a shorthand now for studio and television executives to go like, oh, well, you know, at Comic-Con, they don't say Dragon Con.
Right.
Which Dragon Con is more like Cosplay Con. If you've ever been to Dragon Con, it's more focused on everyone dresses up at Dragon Con.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it just renews my faith in fandom.
Yeah,
Every year it renews
yes.
my faith in fandom. Like it just that passion, that spark. Like, oh God, I'm so excited about everything. You know, like especially early looks at stuff. Like
Yeah.
I think Pacific Rim is something I cannot wait
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that they trust the audience at Comic-Con to say we're going to show you this stuff way early. I love the leaks.
Yeah.
I love the leaks from Comic-Con, the videos that don't stay up for very long.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
You and I were tweeting earlier about, you know, you couldn't get a hotel. I'm like, if Chris Gore can't get a hotel, you know we're in trouble.
I was on the site and I filled out all the stuff, and it probably took me too long. I was like 5 minutes after
Yeah.
9.
Too long.
Click,
Yeah.
and then by the time I got my request back, it's like, sorry, none of my hotels were possible. So I actually got a fan actually helped me out.
Yeah.
A fan that like just said, we have an extra one, I'll give it to you. I gave this person my credit card number.
Oh,
I'm a
man.
trusting. But the thing is, nerds are just very like trustworthy. I feel like.
Yeah.
What's weird about Comic-Con, you'll hear stories about the hassles and stuff like that. You will rarely ever hear a story of like, God, this person was a real jerk to me. Because everybody is so cool to each other. Nerds are, I think it's sort of like being trained to like, when you grow up a nerd and you grow up being harassed and abused by occasionally jocks, which, you know, we're talking about the jock wars, you know, the dark times. Those no longer exist.
That's right. We have won. We've declared victories.
Yeah, now those wars have migrated online where people harass each other on the internet. But yeah, I think sort of because of growing up and everyone, you know, like experiences are just like people are really cool with each other, with the exception of that one occurrence at Comic-Con with that stabbing,
Yeah.
which apparently was, I guess, like two friends, and it was an accident.
Yeah.
It was an accident. It wasn't malicious or intentional even.
But that's not a fun story.
That's not a fun story. We don't want to focus on that.
Yeah.
But you don't hear stories. I mean, do you? Like everyone is really not. And the thing is this: I bond with people in line, or people who are like I've become friends with people whose work I'm fan of, like Jonan Vasquez, you know, who I met at Comic-Con. He was doing a signing, and went up there. Like my daughter's a big fan of his. She read Johnny the Homicidal Maniac at way too young of an age. I'm a bad influence. What can I say? And so I become friends with people who are in the industry. The end of G4 was also the end of an era for me. You know, I'm not reviewing movies anymore.
Wow.
I'm not covering things as a press person. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not also passionate and enthusiastic, just as all of us are. If I see Pacific Rim and it's amazing, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to say it was amazing, but so is everybody else on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just not officially working in a capacity as a critic, because I think that job is dead. That job is dead and over. But to answer your question, the hassle, I don't know. I think that just sort of depends on your situation, because you can get a hotel room, right? You can actually get a hotel room without using their system, but you'll pay $650 a night for a regular room at the Marriott, which is about 3 times what the normal rate is.
Or you'll be 20 miles away.
Or you'll be 20 miles
Still
away.
paying $100 a night. Or
Yeah,
more.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Like I would ask you guys that question. I like asking. They're experts too.
Flipping it on us.
We've been going collectively
Yeah.
50 years of
That's
going to
right.
Comic-Con here, or at least it feels like 50.
I felt like I've aged 50 years. Since I
Yeah. Well, what do you got? I mean, like, you know, like there was 1 year where I was transitionally, like between jobs, whatever, where I wasn't gonna go. I was like, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So what I did was at the last minute I said, I cannot go. So I drove down and I just stayed there for the day. I think that was the year where I just didn't have a hotel room and I kind of spent the night at this rave party.
And it's funny because when you arrive, it's sort of like this collective high five. Like, we made it. We
Yeah,
did it.
yes, I know, we're here. There's that weird enthusiasm, and it's almost Disneyland-like in a sense, you know, where you're at WonderCon and everybody's so nice to each other. The only thing I would say is I wish that backpacks had nerve endings. Because it's you know what I'm saying? Like you'll be like, you know, and it's not that anyone intentionally, but you'll get that sort of like bump in the
Swing, yeah.
like what the hell, you know, is going on here with your backpack? But I think all of this is because this whole fandom really, I think Star Wars was the touching point. I love seeing those pictures from 1976
right.
with like Mark Hamill sitting at a little card table with these paintings by Ralph McQuarrie, the Star Wars. Because hey, I can show it to camera.
That's right.
Can you see that?
He is.
Can you see my
He
patch?
is swagged out. Like, show him your back.
George has a posse. George has a posse, and then my back is just a Yoda.
That is.
You can see that?
That is epic.
Yeah. So I think it's really Star Wars that was the touchstone for fandom kind of being on the rise. J.J. Abrams, it's so fascinating now. He's in charge of the two biggest franchises in the genre. Period. Star Trek and Star Wars.
It's a little crazy having one guy with that much control
Right.
of our passions.
It's like God, Jesus, J.J. Abrams. Because
Yeah,
as far
yeah.
as wielding so much power, it's like, oh.
Yeah. So, but I think he's a good fit for Star Wars Episode 7 because he's more of a Star Wars fan than a Star Trek fan. If you look at that new international trailer for Star Trek Into Darkness looks like a Star Wars
Absolutely.
movie. It's everything except for Captain Kirk saying, "Never tell me the odds." You know, as he's like taking that like Galileo ship that looks like a Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Dude, make a Star Wars movie, all right? We get it. You want to make a Star Wars movie, JJ. So I don't know. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that. Because this is my favorite conversations. Is when you're like in line, it's like, well, I saw the trailer for this. I don't know. Well, I heard Pacific Rim, blah, blah, blah. Well, Episode 7, the rumor is, blah, blah. So those kind of things, those conversations where by the end I start to get convention voice, I can feel I'm getting it now. I'm getting convention voice as we speak. I can barely talk. I think it'll be definitely the best of the movies post-Jedi. You know what I mean? Like I really think no matter what, especially when you've got like, you know, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford returning. I'm sure for like cameos.
That's crazy.
I don't know that they could all carry the movie in a sense, but
I don't know if I want to see Hamill and Fisher swinging across the chasm.
yeah, exactly. I am really curious to see. I know there's going to be. I just went to this event where they had the 66 Batman. They're rolling out the whole new line because Warner Brothers realizes like we're not going to have a Batman movie for a really long time. We got to reinvent Batman. We got to do something for the fans. So just to keep like Batman kind of in the zeitgeist, they've released a line of 66 Batman toys. On my Instagram, there are
I've
a
seen
ton of pictures.
The figures I saw.
It's amazing, like action figures, like the original Batmobile but larger size, Ken and Barbie, Batman, like the 66 Bat phone that lights up, you can put under cake glass, like all the stuff that we wish existed. You know, when I saw that Batman TV series, like in reruns as a kid, I would say that between Batman and Star Wars and zombies, it's like that's sort of like the mix of that, the holy triumvirate of the things that
You
I'm
need to mash
into.
all that into one creation.
And Star Trek also is like in there as well. Like I can't, you know, it's like I grew up watching Star Trek with my dad, you know, who was into computers, which was not like a career path necessarily at that time.
Computers are not really going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's not gonna.
It's a cycle. It's gonna.
Yeah,
fizzle out.
yeah.
It's a lot.
So yeah, that's you know those are my sort of big things. Than anything that's an offshoot of those, just anything. Having done that, and especially having worked in print and written books, and my favorite is the internet and the sort of instantaneous, feedback and conversation that you get, and I think that is my preferred. That's of all of that stuff. Like having seen everything evolved, I just the internet, and especially things like Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, I love having conversations with fans on Twitter. The fact that like something can happen at WonderCon, it can be a touchstone, and you know, suddenly you're seeing pictures of it everywhere and hashtags, and I love the sort of mass consciousness, the sort of Borg-like consciousness of the internet, and you get to see, and I guess the studios are even starting to pay attention to, they know like on a Friday how well a movie's going to do based on the conversation that can be observed via Twitter.
It's so interesting.
I don't know. I also predict that like the things are going to shift. Like you know, we've seen changes like where a movie theater attendance is dropping. Yeah, I really think that like someday, at some point, someone is going to release a movie on the internet, and it's going to make more money in a day than any movie in the top 10 box office, because I think that's where our habits have shifted. You know, I mean, 2012 was the year that first of all the world didn't end, good, but secondly it was the first year where sales, like legal download sales, eclipsed DVD sales. Legal individual, you know, like people purchasing, you know, I'm buying this episode of this, or I'm buying this, you know, movie, that eclipsed DVDs. So I think that you're seeing a shift in that where, you know, people are like, I don't want a shelf filled with boxes. I have a drive. It's in the cloud, which I still don't trust.
No.
I don't trust. I think the cloud is Skynet 2.0.
That's
I don't trust the cloud. I like to still have a physical box. I like having my Blade Runner box set, 5-disc box set that comes, you know, that comes with a little car. I love that.
It's interesting because it's the physical form that's collectible, not necessarily the content inside. Because content is online
Right.
somewhere, so it's like it's more the symbolism of that.
Even that, take your digital copy, which is pretty much a worthless thing to it's your key code is the digital copy.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I think the only one that gets it right is really Disney, because they sell you the Blu-ray, the standard def DVD, and the digital copy all in one box. I love that aspect. I get sad, and I always say goodbye to Comic-Con when I leave. There's that Sunday night, like
The blues.
that blues where just like it's like Sunday and it's like, oh, it's 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be done. There's something really emotional about the end of Comic-Con. I can't explain it. I don't get that way at other cons. Other cons, like, that was a good time. Why does that happen at Comic-Con?
Do you ever stop before that last couple hours and just look around and go, "Ooh, this is awesome"?
I always do. I always stop and I say, this is awesome. I look and I feel like I'm giving Comic-Con a giant hug with my brain, because I look at it and there's just something, it's like, because I look forward to it all year. I'm planning for it. I'm making a costume or doing something strange. And my costumes are stupid. I feel like there's a lot of fans cosplayers that are like, oh, well, I have an accurate this, or like, look how perfect my costume is. I like to make a costume where it's like catching a moment. I've been wearing a costume here at WonderCon where it's Captain Kirk. There's pictures of it around where I'm dressed as Kirk. Oh my God, it's such a good Bane. Yes. Well, Bane.
You get my permission to go to WonderCon.
Yes. Oh my God, what a good Bane costume! I gotta catch that guy. Anyways, I'm just as Kirk from the beginning of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, except I've got swelled hands.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, so I've got like these hands that are completely swelled, and I've just been walking around saying like, you know, look, what happens on Romulus stays on Romulus unless you put your finger in it, and then you have an issue. So.
And some of your costumes involve partial nudity. So
Well, no, I dressed as a slave Leia last year, just to make a point at a panel, and then I've dressed as Batman, but Batman after he gets off work, where I get the, crap beat out of me. So really, I'm moving more towards animation because I love doing cartoon voices. I can do a perfect Watto. I'm supposed to do Watto from Star Wars Episode 1 in one of the Star Wars video games. Watto, if you don't remember, was the flying alien, the Toydarian, who forces Anakin to work retail on Tatooine. Little Annie. So I've always loved doing voices, but when I say I want to do voice work, it's hard for me to transition into that because people don't see me as that. So I'm going to create my own animated shows where I get to do voices. So doing that and doing stand-up comedy, and I'm, everything that I do. It's weird when you have the kind of job that I have, because I don't, and I know that you understand this. You don't wake up someday and it's like, well, I'm going to punch in and do my job as comedian.
Yeah.
Chunk.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's you decide to do something and you have to make a job for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what's exciting about something like Comic-Con is it shows you it's possible. I think if you ask any creator who is at Comic-Con, no one said to them like, no one said to them like, hey, you should do a comic book about, zombies. No one came to Robert Kirkman like, would you like a job writing a comic book about, it's a zombie comic book where it just sort of continues with the same characters on and on and on. I will accept that job. It's like, no, he thought of it and decided to do it and created it. And I think that that's what's amazing about Comic-Con is it inspires that kind of passion and creativity where you go, I'm going to choose to do something that I thought of. And the normal way that we're programmed, in educationally speaking, in the United States is to, here's some information, now go and apply for a job where you can be a productive citizen. But I think that there's a different way, there's a different path, and I think Comic-Con shows you that path, that everyone there from Big Creator, just they thought of it and they made it.
Yeah.
Or as Prince Barron said once in the Flash Gordon cartoon from the 80s, what the mind can imagine, the body can do. I'm sure I got that quote slightly wrong, but that's the spirit of that quote. I can't believe I referenced the Flash Gordon cartoon by Filmation from the 80s that I recently bought on DVD. So that's it for the SDCC blog, the Crazy for Comic-Con interview with Tony Kim and James Riley. We really want to thank the guys from San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. You can find them at sdccblog.com. You can find Tony Kim at crazy4 Comic-Con on Twitter. And you can also go to crazy4comiccon.com. Thank you guys for being on the show,
Yeah,
Haley.
it was fun.
Yoshi, this is going to be your first Comic-Con, right?
No, I've been going.
You've been going for a while. Okay.
I went casually like in late 80s, but it was just like as a goof.
It was just like.
I wasn't really serious. I mean, I like comic
Then
books.
I think it was at the college, and they just sold comics. It wasn't comics, and we got some 16 millimeter prints of Star Trek episodes we can show. It was like a real like old school convention.
But my friend was working at one of the booths 8 years ago. He invited me, and I was shocked how different it was the way I remember from the 80s. But before we go, I'm just curious. Well, we were talking about creepy guys at San Diego Comic Con. I want to hear, as a woman's perspective, what do you think the percentage of guys are like creepy? And when I say creepy, I mean there's something about them that make you uncomfortable.
I mean, earlier
excluding me and your dad out of it.
You guys are cool. You guys are fine. I mean, he's my dad, and you're a friend of his, so I think you're pretty awesome. Earlier I told you between 45 and 50%, but I'm really starting to think about it now. It's like, when have I ever gone and I feel just like so uncomfortable with all these people around, and I'm a girl, and it's like closer to 60 to 65%. And it's just like, you look at him and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna stay way over here where you can't see me, or
But what is it about them that made you uncomfortable? I find that stuff interesting.
What, just like sometimes the costume they're wearing, it's like, I decide, like the guys who dress up as Sailor Moon or something like that. That's always those are always really fun to see. It's like, I'm clearly a man who decided he wanted to be a 14-year-old
Well, you're gonna be
girl.
cosplaying.
I'm gonna be cosplaying as Lord Stingray, but that is completely
Attractive
different.
young girls, that's fine. It's just these guys.
Fun thing about my daughter, she does a lot of cartoon voices. She does a perfect Butters.
The perfect Butters, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you don't like my Butters voice, my parents will ground me.
And that ends up being an issue. I love the look on your face. You're just like, what the hell? Where did that come from? I did that
Butters from
voice.
South Park.
Yeah,
Butters from South Park.
I did that voice for an entire day. My mom loves Butters. And finally, after the entire day of just doing the Butters voice, she just stops and goes, Haley, if you keep doing that voice, I'm going to end up hating that character. Just the entire day. That's,
Oh, but Mom, if you don't like my voice, my parents will ground me.
and then she's just like, okay, that's it. I can't take it anymore.
Chris, your daughter's very talented.
I think she's an accomplished artist.
Yes.
The art from Celebrities Poop is
It's
in the
great.
It's in the style of Everyone Poops. It's sort of in the spirit of that. But her other artwork is amazing. What she can do on the iPad with just like whip up something incredible. So,
Well, it's great.
Do we get some plugs in because we got to end the show?
Sure.
Where can people follow you, Yoshi? Your podcast, Yoshi Didn't.
.com. And I have a new episodes every Monday, but you and I will be start doing a podcast
That's
on my
right.
show. And
You're gonna have her as a recurring co-host on Yoshi Didn't now.
Yeah, we want to.
Cool.
I would like to release it every, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday night with you.
Sure.
But Chris, I got to say, I really appreciate you went out of the way to contacting me because no, seriously, because this is one of the.
Because both of our careers are on the skids. Let's face it, we're both trying to do we're both trying to get a leg up to the next level in our careers.
But
so why not two
one-
hobbled up and comers join forces?
Sure.
To lift each other up. This is what I think that we're on the road to do. So
And-
people can follow you on what at Yoshi Obayashi.
Twittercon.com/Yoshi Obayashi or YoshiDidn't.com.
Right.
But I'm seriously. I appreciate you trust me enough to invite me and do a couple of your shows. And
Let's not go overboard yet. Really, I'm having you on to make up for the WonderCon episode where you really offended Adrian Curry. I think we both know that this is the makeup episode. And then I would just say you can follow me at that Chris Gore. You can follow the show at PodCRASH Show. Go to podcrash.net.
Yeah.
Download the app for iPhone, iPad, and Android phones. Facebook.com/podcrash. We're part of the Sideshow Network. Go to sideshownetwork.tv to get more information about other shows, especially if you like PodCRASH. And don't follow my daughter on Twitter. I will just say, are you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter.
And
I never use it.
you never use it. Oh, thank
No.
God. Thank God. But you can find. You should promote your DeviantArt account so people can check you out on DeviantArt.
Sure, yeah, it's Mega Doomin Gur, as though Gur is Mega Doomin around. So MEGADOOMINGIR at deviantart.com. I mean,
There you go.
That's all you need.
Cool.
Cool.
Is it .deviantart?
Whatever.
People will find it.
People know
They'll
what
find
DeviantArt
it.
is.
All right. And one last thing, I like to end every show by saying,
Let's get out of here.
Buried alive. Buried alive.
hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're someone who loves nerdy things, geeky things, and you love going to Comic-Con. You and I are a lot alike, and I like you. For that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. You'll receive in return the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit absolutely free. That's all you gotta do. Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you for listening. Later.